for today's video, I am not in the Porsche, or any Porsche of any kind. Eagle-eyed people will notice that I'm in an Audi. I'm in an Audi A3 with one of the longest names ever. It is the Audi A3 S-Line Quattro Black Edition. So this is a car we've had for a long time, maybe 6.5 years, and it's going to be sold very soon anyway. So anyway, but I'm off to see my mother for a socially distanced chat because I haven't seen her for months and months and months, and I made a video in the Porsche just the other day and it was terrible, so I thought I'd make one on my journey. And one of the things that I wanted to catch up on was what to do next. So I've done the year and I've concluded through my not very scientific tests that you can buy a Porsche 911 for £6,500, drive it every day, and it won't break the bank. But the problem with that is that I've proven that it can be done, but it can be done a year ago. So if you went to do it now, they're not out there. You can't get one for under £12,000, a C2 coupe manual, Gen 1, or any Gen. So yeah, you're looking at £12,000. Now, I don't know if they're going to keep going up or what, but I thought if I was to do this experiment right now, I'd be looking at £12,000, almost double what I paid. So, although I'm saying yes, everybody go out and do it, I don't think the possibility exists anymore unless you know somebody, unless you go to a forum, unless it's got major problems that you have to fix. But what I've been thinking about is what I should do next. Someone in a SLK has just overtaken two cars at the same time on a country lane, so in a real rush to get somewhere. So what to do next? Now, I saw a video on a YouTube channel called Petrolicious, and it featured a guy called Alan Drayson, and he runs, and I think he started Canford Classics. I think it's down in Dorset or Hampshire, somewhere down there. And but he works on Porsches, vintage Porsches. Not works on, he restores them to an incredibly high standard. And one of the Porsches that he has is a 1972 911. Is it an S? It might be a 911, or is it a T? I don't know what it means, but it must be a T because it's a Targa, which he bought from Japan, and it had been left neglected for years and years and years and years and years. And he brought it back to the UK, imported it, and oh, shut up! And he didn't restore it. Well, he restored it, the running gear, everything underneath. He got it solid, working, and running perfectly with wiring. The interior all right, but the top, he just left exactly as it was. And I've often wanted to do that just because I want to show the age of the car and the life that it's lived. Now that sounds a bit lame and anal and things like that, but I really like that look because, but I don't like the fake patina. You know, you see TV shows where they spray on rust and they spray on wear and tear on a car. I don't like that because it's just fake. But what I do like is genuine wear and tear, and even if it's rust, as long as it's not unsafe, then I even like that. So, and I've always wanted to do that, and I saw that, and it got me inspired again. But I've been looking for cars for sale, and you can pick one up on eBay, for example, that someone else has imported, most likely from the US, because people start to do something with them over there, put them in a barn because they have so much space, and then they just get left. Then they get pulled out when someone's died, or they need the money, or something like that, and then they get sold off for $5,000. And then someone from over here imports it here, and then they sell it for 15. Now, I've seen a couple, one's I think 11.5, one's 12.5, and they're on eBay, and they would be the ideal candidates for that kind of thing, 169 or 172, and they're in Guernsey, somewhere like that, or Jersey, and but they come with hopefully no rust, but they don't come with an engine and gearbox. So that's a lot of money to pay for a car with no engine and gearbox, and you know, structurally you're not 100% sure that it's sound. You don't know if the electrics work. You'd probably have to rebuild. No, you definitely will have to rebuild all the suspension, all the brakes, steering, and then suddenly, you know, you're in it for loads and loads of money because you've got to buy the engine and gearbox and recondition them, and then you've got to pay somebody to do it because I don't have the expertise, the time. Well, I have a little bit of the expertise. I reckon I could do it given the time, but I don't have the time or the space or the money. Now, I would love to do it, but it would mean I would have to sell my 996. Now, someone's already offered me £10,000 for it, but if I love having a Porsche 911, just being able to get in, drive it, and just the joy it gives me. You can't get that for £10,000 in anything else.
In 300 yards.
But shut up. But if I sold it for £10,000, I would never be able to buy it back. Not the way the prices appear to be going. They're just gently drifting up. Now, if I'm your average Joe,
turn left.
If I'm your average Joe, and I am your average Joe because I can't afford £15,000. So if the Porsche that I bought had been advertised for £15,000, or it had cost £14,000, then I wouldn't have been able to afford it. If it'd been £10,000, £10,500, £11,000, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. And you know, the experiment would have died before it started. But if I went and bought this other car, of course it would retain its value, but the thing that I would have to then think about is, can it be the everyday car that I want? Because it would be susceptible to rust, it would be air cooled, it would possibly not be as reliable. I don't know. I don't know enough about air cooled cars. Now, I'm not a big Porsche fan, so what people might say is, well, just go and get something different. But why waste all that knowledge that I've built up? So I don't want to sell mine, but then there's no way I can afford it. And even if I could, if I went and bought one of those cars that I just mentioned for £10,000, say for example I sold mine for £10,000, I bought that for £10,000, I would need to spend a minimum of another £10,000 just to get it working. Now, I don't have that £10,000, and that £10,000 is just for parts. It's not even labour. I'd have to get an engine, gearbox, and all the other stuff. One of them even had a broken screen. And so, but at the same time, that same organisation who import cars, they have a I can't remember what year it is. It might be 71 or 72. 911 as well, which isn't a Targa, it's a hardtop, and it's complete, and you'd think, great, but it's something like £36,000 or £38,000. Now, you're still going to have to spend a lot of money on that to get it going, and I'd have to get tons of rust proofing so I could use it every day, but then I'd have to leave it on the street because I don't have a garage. That means, so I'd have sold my, actually, no, it wouldn't be on the street, it would be in my garage, because I'd have to sell my MG, I'd have to sell my Porsche, and it would be in the garage. Okay, that maybe would be okay, but it would have to work every day. I'd have to get some tracker things so it doesn't get stolen. So it's just not viable, but I would love to do that. I would love to drive a car that was reliable, drove brilliantly, handled brilliantly, was great fun to drive, and it showed its age. It showed that it had been left in a barn for 20 years, 30 years. Now, I don't know how to do that. I really want to do it. I'm even starting to think, could I run that as a business? Bring over from the US European cars that are in that state and keep their age, let them wear their age, their patina, and just fully restore the running gear, the brakes, the steering, suspension, electrics, make them comfortable, put a couple of mod cons in like electronic ignition, things like that, make them reliable, but let them wear that age. I think it'd be a tiny market that you're pitching to, but I would love to do that. But I wouldn't have a clue where to start. I don't have any money. Shut up. I would turn that off. So I don't have any money to do that. Time, and it's probably during lockdown not the ideal thing to do. But at the same time, I'm thinking maybe it is the ideal time to do it.
In 300 yards, at the roundabout, go straight on. Take
Thanks.
the second exit.
Because I'd have time. I'm gonna have to turn that on. But I'd have the time, but then it would take a really long time to do the first one, because things like I would have to firstly find premises somewhere, because I can't do it in my garage, because my garage is integral to my house, so I can't do welding in there, I can't do angle grinding and use chemicals and things like that, because I live in a townhouse. So above the garage is my lounge. Now if I found the premises, then the first one would take so long because I would have to learn about things like paint stripping, rust stripping, welding. So I'd have to learn MIG welding. I've kind of done a tiny amount of sort of oxyacetylene stuff, and I know my way around with a spanner, but I'd have to do some serious work. And then, you know, I'd have to get an engine. I wouldn't recondition an engine myself. I wouldn't recondition a gearbox myself, because that's maybe something you'd think about much later. At first it would be about quickly getting it done, but getting it done to such a high standard, all of the underneath to look immaculate, brand new, that it's obvious that this car, those type of cars, run perfectly and are completely reliable and are great fun to drive, but they just wear this skin on the outside. They're real skin that's not been chipped away, worn away, wiped off, restored. And then you just go out and drive it. I mean, watch the video. I'll try and post a link. It's Petrolicious, and it's a guy called Alan Drayson, and he is a real nerd. He's really anal about things like that, and I really like that, because I didn't think there were any people around like that. Certainly not. It's not very common to meet somebody like that, because I don't know anybody like that. I don't even know that many people who are into cars, which is probably why I'm talking to a camera about it, because I don't know anybody that I can talk to. That was a DB7, nice. That I can talk to in person, because most people want convenience. When one of my friends says, "Oh, I think I might buy a Porsche convertible," and you go, "Great!" And you go, "Oh, I'm going to buy a Boxster, and it's Tiptronic, and it's great," and you go, "Oh, I can't get excited about that." But if you said, "I'm going to buy a Boxster and it's manual, and I'm going to drive it because it's mid-engine and it's going to be great fun to drive," then you go, yes, you're buying it for the right reasons, because they are great cars and they are around, that you can buy them for such a price that they can be enjoyed every day. But if you say, well, I'm going to go and buy an automatic from a period that the automatics weren't very good as well, and then when everybody says, well, you know, PDK is much better, but still, as time goes on, people go, actually, I still want a manual. But for everyday use, PDK, why not? But incidentally, Boxster prices are going up as well. So if you're looking to get one, have a look now. I mean, you'll pick up one 20 years old for £4,500. That's a 2.5, maybe not even a 2.7. But a year ago, you could pick up a Boxster S in decent condition with high mileage. Oh my god, it's a Jaguar E-Type, yes. Series 1. But you could pick up a Boxster S for £4,000. You'd really have to look around, but you'd pick one up for £4,000. No way now. And I don't know if that's because we're in a lockdown. I don't know. That's something that I'd have to look into. But these old, perished and abandoned Porsches that are being imported here, I know people are buying them to fully restore them. I don't want to fully restore them. I just want to be able to. I mean, if you watch TV programs like, because it's in the US, like Fast and Loud, and I quite like their philosophy. You know, what they do is they go and find an abandoned car that's been in a garage or in a barn for 20, 30 years. They literally just get it back, get it going, and sell it, and someone drives it away. And they can do that over there because they're not rusty, because they're in a dry state. So even if it's abandoned outside, 30 years later, you go and it's still, you know, if you just resprayed it and got the mechanicals working, it'd be immaculate, it'd be brilliant. But which is why so many older cars are still driving over there. Over here, the problem is rust. So if you did it over here, you'd have to do tons and tons and tons of rust prevention work, and that would be the selling point. So you would strip it back to bare metal underneath, you would repair any kind of rust, which you don't want to buy one that's rusty anyway, and then once that's done, you would coat it in, I don't know, epoxy mastic 101. If you go and look at rust.co.uk, they developed this thing that it's great for rust prevention, and you just go and get that done again every few years. It costs a few £100s, but it will stop your car rusting at all, even if you use it every day. So that's my plan. Somehow I need to do that without selling my 996. But I literally have no money. So I need to think of something I can do. I need to sell this car, but this was the family car, so I can't justify just using all that money to, well, actually, it's worth like £4,000, 4.5. Actually, it might be worth 5. I don't know. That's not enough. The other thing is, I could buy one, loan the money, and just put it into storage somewhere, and wait until I've got the time and the space and the money to do it. So yeah, that's my plan. It's gonna take, it might never happen. So if anybody knows of like a 1970, 1969 Porsche Targa, abandoned but complete with no rust, for sale for £5,000, so they want to swap it with an Audi A3 S-Line Quattro Black Edition, then let me know. Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely.